The Tomb Kings. Far to the south of the Old World lies a desolate, wind-swept desert. No living thing stirs in this place, but it is far from uninhabited. This is Nehekhara, the cursed land of the dead, and the domain of the Tomb Kings. Nehekhara was once a land of magnificent architecture and noble dynasties. Its warrior kings led golden armies against the barbarian tribes that envied the splendor of Nehekhara and the greenskin hordes that constantly threatened their realm. They fought their wars with phalanxes of spearmen that stretched across the battlefields as far as the eye could see, with regiments of archers that darkened the skies with arrows, and with battalions of deadly chariots that rumbled across the land. The Nehekharans crushed all before them in displays of martial brilliance until their realm reached from the lizard-infested southlands to the monster-hunted forests of the north. However, the vain kings refused to let mere death cheat them of their lifetime's accomplishments or rob them of their worldly possessions. It was the belief of every Nehekharan king that upon his death he would be mummified in an elaborate ceremony and interred within a magnificent burial pyramid. Here they would await the day of awakening, when they would arise into a golden paradise, filled with all their subjects and belongings, which were necessarily entombed alongside their lords, and here would they reign supreme for all eternity. Over time, their necropolises became bigger and grander than the towns of the living. It is said that the honored dead buried beneath Nehekhara outnumber those that breathe in the old world twice over, and the dead do not rest easy. Rulers of the Dead. Through blasphemous necromantic magic, the entire population of Nehekhara was cursed into a living death. The corrupt sorcerer Nagash instigated a great catastrophe that at once destroyed every living thing in Nehekhara and raised the dead from their tombs. The Tomb Kings arose from their sleep of oblivion prematurely, albeit immortal and more powerful than ever. The once proud rulers of Nehekhara have been reborn into a mocking travesty of life. They have awoken from the slumber of death to discover that they are repulsive, undead creatures, bone-dry cadavers whose once palatial realms are but a shadow of their former splendor. They found Nehekhara plagued by hordes of barbaric invaders, its ancient cities and proud statuary crumbling from long centuries of warfare, and its bountiful riches plundered by countless tomb robbers. The Tomb Kings now fight to restore their vast empire to its former majesty, striking forth from the desert to reclaim the world from the living. The Tomb Kings' trusted advisors were their leech priests, wizards of great power whose sole task in life was to prepare the king's tombs and ensure their lasting immortality. When a king died, his leech priest would embalm his body in an elaborate funeral ceremony and inter his remains in preparation for the day of awakening. The undying leech priests, withered and frail from the passing of untold centuries, are now responsible for watching over Nehekhara and for reawakening the armies of the Tomb Kings to glorious conquest. The Curse of Undeath. The Tomb Kings reign from their necropolises as they have always done, imitating the life they once knew. Many Tomb Kings behave as if nothing were awry, ruling as if they were still beings of flesh and blood. Perhaps some are truly unaware that they are undead, whilst others are in denial of their cursed existence, or have been driven mad by the sight of their own hideous visage. A Tomb King may demand a bowl of sweet figs and a goblet of fine wine, seemingly oblivious that the contents of such a meal would spill through their desiccated bodies onto the floor. When the proffered meal arrives, a Tomb King will simply stare at the fruit, wondering what such a thing is for, until it either rots to dust or a vestigial memory surfaces, allowing a moment of clarity to reassert itself. In that instant, the Tomb King recalls all the pride, majesty and greatness of what he was, and the cruel parody of what he has become. Realizing that he will never know the taste of food, the quenching relief of cool water, the sensation of touch, or any other simple joy ever again. Ancient and wrathful, all that is left for the Tomb Kings is their hunger for power, their thirst for conquest, and their need for vengeance. The Tomb Kings are unremitting in their eternal war upon those who have the temerity to live whilst their rightful rulers languish in undeath. The Undying Legions. In ancient Nehekhara, a ruler was only as powerful as his force under arms. Thus, the kings maintained vast legions and proclaimed their victories proudly, so that rivals would know of their strength and tremble. In this way, the names of many legions became legendary. King Nekesh's Scorpion Legion, for example, halted several barbarian invasions and felled their foes with spears whose tips were fashioned from the black claws of giant scorpions. Similarly, Prince Sekef's Heralds of Death were feared for their grisly standard, from which the skulls of a dozen conquered kings hung, cursed by the leech priests of Numas, to wail in perpetual torment. These and 1,000 others have now awakened from death, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies once more. It was the duty of every soldier to serve his king, not only in life, but beyond into death. Countless thousands of loyal warriors were buried alive in the great tomb pits of the ancient kings. Assembled in serried ranks, as though on parade, the legions of each king were entombed with all the weapons and regalia of war needed to protect their lord in the next life. Bronze-tipped spears, curved swords, and sturdy shields. Many archers were also buried with their masters, together with huge stockpiles of magically blessed arrows. Alongside the foot soldiery of the king's legions were regiments of cavalry and gilded chariots, which awaited the day when they would gallop out of the mortuary pyramids and crush their enemies once again. When the Tomb Kings advance to war, they do so with these vast legions at their command, a breathtaking sight of gleaming bone, gold, and bronze. The undead warriors stride unfalteringly across the searing desert and through howling sandstorms as they close in on their foes. Vast phalanxes of skeletal soldiers advance towards their terrified enemies in relentless unison, fighting with a supernatural discipline that no mortal man can hope to match. Slowly but implacably, the legions of the undead drive their foes before them, guided, as always, by the unyielding will of their Tomb King. There are some necromantic spells that reanimate long-dead corpses, creating undead automatons that serve the necromancer in a mindless fashion. Such is not the way of the Tomb King's soldiers. Each skeleton in the numberless legions is inhabited by the soul of an ancient Nehekharan warrior. Through the magical incantations of leech priests, spirits of loyal soldiers are summoned from the realm of souls and bound within corporeal remains. These warriors are not, then, slaves to the will of an evil wizard, but dutiful soldiers who unswervingly obey their king's commands in death, just as they once had in life. However, without the extensive mummification techniques and magical words of preservation laid upon the bodies of the Nehekharan royalty, the skeletons of the Tomb King's legions perceive the world very differently to mortal men. They retain only the most pertinent aspects of their former lives, the endless years of training and discipline, the martial skills honed on countless fields of battle, and, above all else, their oaths of fealty to their king. Personality and ambition are ephemeral, and even their names have faded like half-forgotten dreams. Towering statues. To protect the corpses of the kings throughout eternity, the ancient Nehekharans wrought magnificent statues to guard over their royal tombs. These towering sculptures, made in the images of gods, kings, and mythical creatures, were placed in and around the necropolises. Titanic warriors hewn from cliff faces, and giant beasts built from the whitest marble, the darkest obsidian, and blood-forged gold stood sentry beside every entranceway. Ranks of imposing Ushapti, statuary carved in the images of a pantheon of ancient gods, lined the labyrinthine corridors of the burial pyramids. Monstrous sphinxes loomed over the sacred sarcophagi of the tomb kings themselves, and countless other, more terrifying statues lay buried and forgotten beneath the baking sands. The leech priests learned long ago that the same incantations used to summon forth warrior spirits could be adapted to animate the hulking stone forms of Nehekhara's fearsome statuary. Ever since, when the tomb kings have made war upon their enemies, constructs of animated stone have fought beside them. These imposing figures wade through the ranks of mortals, crushing their opponents with terrible blows as enemy arrows and sword strokes rebound harmlessly from their rock-hard frames. Reconquest of an empire. The reborn tomb kings look upon their shattered lands and skeletal legions, and they are greatly angered. Nehekhara was once a powerful and proud nation, and its enemies cowered before the might of its kings and the strength of their armies. Year upon year its borders expanded, and with the conquered wealth magnificent monuments were raised to honor kings and gods. The tomb kings have vowed that all of Nehekhara must be restored. They will not stop until every city is rebuilt, every land reconquered, and every stolen treasure, even the most insignificant trinkets, is recovered. So as it once was, so will it be again.